Order. Roll call, please.
Chris Broom? Here. Adam Carson? Linda Here. Lindsay Kreisman? Rayla? Here. Amy Rea? Here. John Reiner? Here. Ellen Schofield? Here. Anna Sheedy?
Here. Public comment. Is anybody got public comment back there? If not, we'll roll along. I know some of the agencies said we can roll this meeting along, so we will. I need a motion to approve the minutes of August 26th.
So moved.
Second? I guess we, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay. We have no presentations. Under my report, we had a community connections. Can you hear me back there? I don't know. Okay. Community Connections Summit, which was a success. There was a lot of people there. The future survey, or what do I want to say, appraisal of our ED, we'd like to do it a little bit differently. We're going to work on a survey that all of you will fill out. I don't think we need to evaluate our new ED. She's just in the role, a month, not even a month. But we will have a different format because that format that we've always used isn't working well. So we are going to do where you'll all have input on a survey. So that will come to you. NatCom. NatCom is April 27th to the 29th. Is there anyone sitting around the table who would like to go to NatCom? It's in Denver, Colorado. I had to think about where it is. It's really a good conference. It's one of the perks we get. That's about it. So if anybody wants to go, we will add it to the budget. So let me know. Okay? Also to let you know, on the 29th of this month, which I believe is Monday, we have Amanda Teach Out starting as our deputy director. So she'll be here, and we all know Amanda. You guys will need to know Amanda back there. Amanda is the head of mental health for Hanover Township, and she will be coming here. She lives in Huntley, so she's a McHenry County resident. That's Amanda. Training and educational opportunities, they're in your packet. I'm not going to go through them all, but they do a great job. Our training person, Chris, and her assistant do a great job putting together training. So, and there's a lot of them there. I don't have anything else. Operational report. Bridget, do you want to give over just some highlights of your what we are going to do from now on, just so that you know, we'll not do an ED report. We think it's better to have an operational report from everybody into one format. And so you will get an operational report. So I'll let you go ahead. I have to give you the.
I'm on.
Are you on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the operational report gives the opportunity for everybody to weigh in. But if you're not getting the information you need, or if you want more information for us, just let us know and we can continue to add more information to it as we go along. And then I don't know if you've had any questions from the operational report. From a building standpoint, we're going to have a lot of work going on here. And the next month, we've got painting and carpet going on and a lot of stuff. I don't know if you had anything to add about finance. And I also wanted to say something about the Community Connections Summit, because Chris Doherty does a phenomenal job every year. And her and her whole planning committee really deserve a huge, huge shout out, because it's amazing. It goes off without a hitch. And then we had over 240 attendees that came, and our keynote was Cassandra Vos Demon. I've said it a million times, so I don't say her name wrong. And she was amazing. She's a McHenry County resident who shared her story of she built a community choir that still thrives here today. So that was amazing. And we actually put her information up on our website. So if you want to see those that keynote speak, you can see it. There were 8 breakout sessions chosen from 29 proposals. We had 46 exhibitors with resources and 6 generous sponsors. So it was really a great event. So if anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Then we'll move to the Finance and Audit Committee. Carolyn?
Thanks. And I'm kind of an impromptu, so forgive me and Melanie, you can jump in as well, because Lindsay is not here tonight, but I did attend the meeting, so I do have some information. We did have a presentation from the county treasurer, Donna Kurtz, and it will be later on our agenda, what we had talked about as far as moving to investments. And the recommendation, we did make a recommendation to move ahead with this to the board. All the concerns were addressed at the meeting as far as laddering, liquidity, and being able to pivot easily within those investments. And the treasurer added that she, with the anticipation of where things will be headed, that she thinks it will be more fiscally responsible to be on this new path than maintaining just our account that we have had, our single account. So that recommendation is before you tonight. There is a new proposed recommendation. I will just point it out. I'm assuming this isn't exactly what we had approved, but it gets the, it encompasses the idea of which we were moving forward to the board. I will point out the revisions and why those occurred. The treasurer, she did look at it, and so she had added, I think there was a little bit of maybe a misunderstanding of what our intent with the mental health board staff will develop an internal mental health board policy to supplement the county investment policy for review in October to provide direction to the treasurer's office. We still want to stay with that language because we want to make sure we have solid internal policies as to how money would move back and forth between those accounts, and we want to make sure that the right people have access to that and the appropriate people are making those movements. So we do want us to leave that in there. And then she had added, the treasurer will provide a copy. You can see in kind of green before, and we'll bring it up when we go to that. But just wanted to let you know that we would be bringing forward then this recommendation, this amendment. Pardon? Yeah, it's at your place right now. Yep. It says background. It gave a little background. So happy to answer any questions, but this is what we would be recommending to, well, I'll take the authority to say this is what, with the additions that the treasurer made, this is what we would be moving forward tonight. Happy to answer any questions. Or if Melanie, if you wanted to add anything, feel free to jump in. Okay. All right, then that's it.
Do you want to go over this or no?
Isn't that,
Melanie, did you want to have
wasn't that
anything?
further on the agenda? Yeah, it's later on the agenda. It's down under old business, Stephanie.
This is our,
Oh, the reports? Oh, yeah.
The
there's-
report.
Oh, on the consent agenda?
okay,
There's no changes there.
right, okay. Sorry. All right, if there's no questions on this, which we'll vote on later, we'll go on to the consent agenda, which is the financial reports, which are these, the opioid fund report, and the mental health monthly bills. Can I have a motion to accept these? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion on any of these? Then we need to vote on our little handy dandy thing, whatever. Okay, it's passed. The consent agenda is passed. Old business. Pardon me? Okay. The mental health investment, McHenry County Treasurer's Office, that's this right here.
And the presentation.
Pardon me?
And there was a presentation.
And a presentation. Yes, you have the presentation in your packet. It looks like this, yeah. So we need a motion on investing with the treasurer's office.
I'll make a motion to, for the decision memo dated it would be, I guess it's not dated, but it's the one we received on your desk with the amendments made by the treasurer's office and the highlights.
Second? Amy seconded. Okay, we need to vote on that?
And I think he's going to pull it up on the screen too, just for,
Yeah.
let my question in.
Basically, we will be investing with the county treasurer's office, and more money that we can make, more money we can give out to the agencies, basically. Oh, I'm sorry. The more money we invest, the more money we can make and give out to you guys back there. So we want to invest with the treasurer's office. She's done very well for the county. Okay, yeah, it's over there if you see it. But basically, I'm paraphrasing it, so. All right. We voted on that. Did everyone vote? One more, okay, it's passed. McHenry County Treasurer's presentation, that's in your report. I don't think we have to vote on that. That's in your packet. And that was on September 16th. That was old business.
Yeah, that was just backup information for all of you.
Right,
for-
right,
yeah.
right. Nothing else under old business, so now we'll go on to new business. NatCom expenses, we have $10,000 in NatCom. If more people want to go than two, we need to add it. That's a perk to us as board members. It is a nice conference. You just need to let me know because we'll need to add more dollars if anybody wants to go. Okay, budget adjustments. Bridget, did you want to talk about that? Or Mel? I'm sorry, let me get you up here. There you go.
So with all the changes we've had in staffing as far as, restructuring the compliance manager to the deputy director and then downgrading Bridget's old position to an executive assistant, we do have changes in what we'd originally did for personnel. And essentially what it's going to be is $46,366 in 26 budget. We'll be able to be removed from personnel and put down into client services. So that's basically what this adjustment is just adjusting for those organizational changes we made last month. So
And if we
that's-
want to take some of that money, we can use it toward NatCom, but we'd need to know to move some of that, the 46,000, that's extra money we have that we could move into training for the board.
Right. So any questions on that?
It's really great. Carolyn, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, and I guess I'll just make the comment. I mean, I think I really appreciate the $46,000 to put into services, and I would like to stick to that. So like, I appreciate, having the offer of multiple people going to NatCom, but, and if anyone wants to go, I don't want to stop people, but I think if more than two people want to go, maybe we should kind of decide what two people would be most beneficial, and then, two could go at the next one or something, because I would really like to cap that and keep that 46,000 in services.
And I think that, this is just my opinion, this is the only perk the board really gets. That's it. I mean, somebody said to me, I'm so happy you get a raise this year. I said, so this board doesn't make a penny. And so I would say that this is more money than we've had because we made all those adjustments. So if we needed to add more, this is where it would come from. Okay. All right, then we can move on because we don't need to vote on it unless somebody comes forward, then we would add that to the next.
The budget adjustments, we do, yeah.
oh, yeah,
So I
the
would
bud-
make a recommendation to move forward with the budget adjustments as presented in the decision memo.
Second. Okay, then we need to vote. Okay, it passed. Okay, this is why everybody else is out there. We have the staff here in front of us has worked really, really hard on these sheets with the money that we have. And I'll let them take it over and go through their recommendations. And as we go through it, if you have any questions, if you want to, this year I'd like to just make a couple statements. Instead of having people come back and present to us. If it's just a question that we have, we can go back to them and get your question answered. But if you really want a presentation from anyone on here, then that's what we would do on October 8th, and hopefully we don't have to go to the 15th. So I'll let you guys take it over. This is our committee, board, staff.
Yeah, so we did things, I think, a little bit differently this year. We spent a lot of time together, the four of us, in a room and on Teams, and a lot of hours and a lot of days to come up with this recommendation for all of you. And so we wanted to just give you a little overview of how we came up with the plan first. So the four of us, we went in and we scored the rubric one by one. We went through the applications one by one, and we scored the rubric for each of them and provided staff comments. You guys, please jump in if I'm saying something out loud. Provided staff comments in each area. And then we went in and we evaluated the budget regarding whether it was reasonable and if it was filled out properly, reviewing the compliance history, the required meeting attendance, and program results and outcomes for each program. After we did all that information was pulled, and then we went through, and then we started with allocating the dollars. So this is where, jump in if I say something wrong. After we get all that information, we recommended flat funding for most of the programs, as we have been discussing going forward, where there was no material issues noted. So for fee-for-service funding was recommended at either flat funding or reduced funding based on a projected FY25 utilization. We then recommended adjusted or no funding in cases where there were any prior issues or concerns that were noted. That's just a fee-for-service. New program applications were evaluated regarding a reasonable budget, the organizational makeup, and how well the program aligns with the MHB missions and goals. Funding was recommended for new programs where it was determined that proposed program would provide benefit to the network. The organization was equipped to comply with MHB funding guidelines, outcomes, all of that. So we started with that, and then we needed to go do another whole round to allocate more dollars. So we had to come up with a second plan. And this was our rationale for what we did. So the fee-for-service utilization was reviewed again, and we increased funding recommendations. The increased funding recommendations were made based on the FY25 projected utilization numbers. The grant and POP requests that were flat funded, but where funding had not been adjusted by anything else for any other issues noted, we allocated a 6% cost of living increase. No further changes were made on access grants. So there was that, all access grants were flat funded from last year funding. And then we still had some unallocated dollars, which we highly recommend we leave that way for future needs. Yes, in that amount. That's our recommendation. Obviously, that is a board decision. So that's our process. Do you guys have any questions on that? Does anyone have anything to add?
No?
Okay. All right, now we're going to do this together. So with all of that said, I'm not positive that we need to go program by program, okay? But if you have questions, please jump in. So for the 22nd judicial, this is one where everything was flat funded, but each program was given a cost of living increase. So every program was flat funded plus a cost of living, every one, and every program. Mental health court, DUI, drug court, peer support specialist, all of those were the same.
I think it's important when you do this, for me at least, that you do, what we budgeted for this year was 309, and what we're proposing is 328.
So you're saying what we allocated last year?
Yes, and
Okay,
then what we're
so
allocating
You want the
this year.
total for the agency, so I say
Yes.
that, okay.
Yeah,
So
I think
last
that's
year, we allocated for the entire agency, we allocated 309,500. The amount requested, you want that too, was 415, 639.10. And we are recommending 328.70. Anybody have questions on that agency?
Yeah, you,
Oh.
oh, Linda, just a second. Did you hit your thing? Yes. Okay. Mic on.
Okay, my question is, when we look at not just this one, but all of them, will we be able to see if there are some things that are going to be, like specifics that are unfunded, or that will be up to the agency to make that allocation with what we give them?
It depends on the agency. So like 22nd, only ask us for personnel costs. So basically, they'll just get a lower amount for those positions, and then typically, I think the county makes up for the shortage. For some of them that are grant funded, they would have the opportunity to go through and submit a revised budget showing, what budget categories they've reduced and so forth. So they do have an opportunity to adjust their budget to, use the funds we give them in the best manner for the agency.
Okay, and we will be able to see
When it
that
stays in the same
information?
pool. A program, sorry.
And we will be able to see that information?
The
like if
revised budgets they
budget?
submit? Or,
Yeah. Yes.
if you would so like,
Okay.
you can request it and we can get that information to you. Typically, it's more an internal thing because we need the revised budget for the grants and the POPs for the year-end reconciliations. But that information is available to board members if they want to see it.
Thank you.
One other comment I want to make before we keep going forward is that when we say flat funding, we're talking about what was originally allocated plus any mid-year that was added. That's their flat funded amount, not the original amount allocated. So we flat funded from the mid-year allocation plus that, okay? All right. Next program is Alexian Brothers, and we'll do those separately. So the first is the clinical navigator, and we had recommend, this one said, do not consider if you cannot fully award this. So we had stated that we would consider doing a lower amount. So we recommend not funding this. Then the excess grant would be flat funded. So originally, 305,289 was the FY25 allocation. They requested 332,023, and we're recommending 200,000, which is just the access grant.
Okay.
Good. So next is AID. So the first three are all flat funded with that cost, no, wait, I'm sorry. The first one's cost of living increase, and the other ones are recommended based on utilization and budget constraints. And then the access grant is flat funding. So again, we have an allocation of 302,416 in FY25. They requested 463,799, and we're recommending 322,700.
Sorry, I just want to ask a general question. For these that have multiple programs within them, I know in years past I've asked if there is a little bit of fluidness between those, that if they needed it in one program and needed to kind of, are we still going to allow that? Like if they need to kind of switch the money a little bit?
So usually the only time we kind of allow that is when we have a fee-for-service program where there might be multiple fee-for-service programs, and they aren't utilizing as much in one program. We've allowed them to move it to the other fee-for-service programs. We don't typically do that with grants where we're moving funds between different grant programs. It's not to say that couldn't be allowed if, there was a good circumstance, but typically it's just we work with the fee-for-service where we kind of have a little more flexibility if they're utilizing more in one area and not the other, so.
Okay. If there was, I think it's, I just know when organizations are budgeting that they might need a little bit of fluidity.
Flexibility.
If that's a word. Yeah, flexibility, thank you.
Yeah.
So I look at it like, for investing in an agency, we're kind of investing in that agency, and if they need to figure out their program, like, I know sometimes grants allow them to shift their money around within it, so if we can,
We do allow them to shift, like, within a grant, like, say they have an unfilled position, but they have something else, like they've contracted with somebody to fill in, or, so we do allow them throughout the year to request budget adjustments.
Okay.
Where within a grant, they can move between budget categories.
okay,
So that's allowed too for flexibility.
okay, yeah, that's what I just hope we, can maintain that.
But I think not
Thanks.
necessarily from program to program, because there's different funding mechanisms there, so.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
have a purchase of position and a fee for service, then you have different funding mechanisms.
And I think
Yeah.
when you look at these, at least when I did, if you look at what we did last year and what we're proposing for this coming year, most have received more, okay?
Oh, yeah, they have. I just am thinking, I just know we had an instance last year where then like
Right.
their change mid-year, like created their grants to have to shift. And I mean, the dollar amount didn't necessarily change, but it needed to be moved a little bit differently.
Yeah, I remember,
So-
I think I know which one you're talking about,
Yeah.
where they decided against funding a position in one grant and has to move the funds to fund a different position in another.
Yeah, because they could get grant funding then to
Yeah,
fill
and that
that
was at the very
one. So
start of the
I guess
year.
if there's a little bit of flexibility in
Yeah, there
there, I
is.
think that, that would be
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
All right, go on, Bridget.
Okay, next is Aunt Martha's. Their primary care behavioral health, and that is an access grant. Their FY25 allocation was $400,000. They requested $500,000. They're being flat funded. Their recommendation is to be flat funded at $400,000. Any questions? Okay, Child Advocacy Center. Oh, never mind, Best Communities, I missed. They were not funded through this funding last year. There was an ICA, and so there was no funding recommended in FY25. I'm just going to read this. However, the program was funded under an ICA in the amount of $45,170 per board decision. FY26 funding is not recommended due to unmet ICA requirements and duplicative of services. Anybody have questions? Child Advocacy Center. Their allocation was, for FY25 was $135,000. They requested $150,000. And this is one that we did the flat funding with the cost of living increase of $143,100. Recommended. Okay, so Clearbrook. We'll do them separate because,
Yeah.
all right. So their choice program, their FY25 allocation was $286,002. They requested $600,000. They said partial funding would be acceptable. We recommended $300,000. This original award was $265,000. They got the mid-year award of $21,002 for a total of what that was. So the projected utilization is $285,170 plus an increase. Then we have the Scylla. This was not recommended before, was not funded before. There's a low-cost renovation that would allow an additional resident to be served, so we are recommending that. Any questions on that? The Clearbrook voucher respite for FY25 was $35,000. They requested $35,000, and we recommended $35,000. Yeah.
All right, and then next is consumer credit counseling. For their 2 fee-for-service programs, they were funded $35,000 this year. They asked for $38,500 next year, and we are recommending funding them at $36,000, basically using recommendation based on utilization and flat funding for the literacy program. For Slate Teen Center, this year they're funded at, okay, so this year they were funded for 2 programs. The two programs combined was a total funding of $121,851. They've rolled those two programs into one program this year for easier reporting, and asked for $156,194, and we are recommending funding of $129,200. The next agency is Easter Seals of DuPage. This is a new agency, and they do co-occurring mental health and IDD services for youth. And we really liked what they had to offer, but then they came in with only asking for $18,500 between the two programs. And one of the two programs is more medical services. And at this point, we would not recommend funding under our funding plan for a $9,000 agreement. Basically, it's the reporting responsibilities and so forth wouldn't be the best. And basically what they were looking for is us to support their McHenry County clients, which is basically 1% of their client base. So it was a very small ask considering how large the organization is. But at this point, we don't recommend funding them. Family Health Partnership. So they were funded $127,300 this year. They asked for $150,000. We're for the two programs providing $140,000. The purchase of position is going to be flat funded with a slight increase for cost of living, and then fee for service was based on utilization. Next, any questions on any of those?
You're saying that they had this year 127 basically, and we're recommending 140.
Correct.
Okay. Pardon me? Oh, okay, I'll get closer. I just said on Family Health Partnership, basically, they received 127,300, and we're recommending 140. And, correct? Yes, okay. All right, you can go on.
Okay, Greater Family Health. So their behavioral health integration program was actually funded at $330 this year, but due to unfilled positions, it was reduced down to $298,843. So that program, we're recommending flat funding at the original amount, not the reduced amount. So we're funding $330 for that access grant. For their MAT, we're recommending the flat funding of $7,900. And then for the psychiatry, again, flat funding of $194,000. So in total, they asked for $642,60, and we're recommending $531,900. Need my glasses tonight. All right, next up is Grief Guide. This is an agency that applied last year but did not get funding last year. They requested $80,000, and based on review of their budget and their organization, we are recommending $40,000 as a purchase of position to help support that program and get them, up and running, because we do believe it is a good program.
She did a presentation at the September 12th seminar, or whatever you call it. Yeah.
All right, next up is Home of the Sparrow. This year, with their mid-year funding, they're at $343,020. They requested $400,000, and we are recommending $360,000 in fee-for-service funding based on projected utilization. So Horizons Behavioral Health, this agency for their child and adolescent psychiatry, we had some issues with their budget. So their application's asking for $175,000, but their budget's only showing a request of $25,000. So at this point, we're only recommending the $25,000 that they were able to support in their budget. And then we were recommending flat funding for the psychiatry residency program of $240,000. So, so this year's funding is 290,000. They're requesting 415,000, and we're recommending 265,000. So it kind of shows the importance of making sure that you are completing the, documents we're asking for properly is kind of important to point out here. Independence Health, their access grant. We're recommending flat funding of 350,000. They requested 420,000. The supportive and preventative services, fee for service, they requested 80,000, and we are recommending 35,000 based on fiscal year 25 utilization. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. So they received 80,000 this year. They requested 40,000 next year, and we're recommending 35,000. So basically, they requested 460,000, we're recommending 385,000. Kids in Need of McHenry County, this was another new funding program. We reviewed, what their program mission is and guidelines, and it really does not fall within our scope of services. So we did not recommend funding them. They did request $150,502, but at this point, we're not recommending any funding. And then the McHenry County Sheriff's Office, they were funded $300,000 this year. They requested $362,800 for next year, and we're recommending flat funding with the cost of living of $318,000. NAMI McHenry County. So both of these are grant funded. We're basically recommending flat funding with the cost of living increase. So they were funded $395,000 this year. They requested $460,000, and we're recommending $418,700. So next one is New Directions. So they are requesting funding for 3 programs. This year's funding is $777,250. They're requesting $758,365, and we're recommending, this sounds bad, $682,100, but that's because we are planning on funding the social isolation program through the opioid settlement funds is where we're recommending that be funded.
Some of it's under the opiate funding, too.
Correct.
Okay.
Your turn. Tag, you're it.
Northern Illinois? Okay. On to Northern Illinois. Okay, so this year they had 338,000 total, and we are recommending 338. 275 for the grant and 63,000 for the purchase of position.
So they're getting exactly what they requested.
That is correct. They requested flat funding, they're getting flat funding.
Okay.
Northern Illinois Recovery Center. Let's see. This one is, this is another one. So the first one, we are recommending funding in the opioid settlement fund, so this isn't going to sound great. So in FY25, it says that they have 290, they're requesting 410, and here we have them flat funded for 200,000. You'll see the other part in the OSF
opiate.
funds. NISRA, both fee for service, and we have flat funded requested and recommended. So the first one, the FY25 allocation was $15,500. That is what we recommended. The second one was FY25 was $33,000. They requested $40,000. We're recommending $35,000. So total $48,500, and FY25 $5,500. Okay, Northwest CASA. In FY '25, they had 146,700. They are requesting 147,353. We're recommending 147,300. Options and advocacy, on both programs total. In FY '25, they had 497. They requested 603. We're recommending 526.20. Just seeing if there's an issue here. Any questions? Okay,
Yeah, I do.
okay.
I have a question. One of the comments was to consider grant funding versus purchase of position. So you will talk two options about that? I'm
Because
just
there's some
wondering, because that's what it
expenses within
says.
there, Because they requested the purchase of pension. We talked about possibly doing grant funding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that's all I have.
yeah. So, okay. All right, Pioneer. So Pioneer as a whole, let's start there. In FY '25, had 930,850. They requested 1,065,196, and we are recommending 908,820. Do you want me to go through each of them separately?
I think you need to just talk about the one that they don't have the clients to support it. Why you,
Oh,
I
so,
think you need to talk about that to everybody.
yeah, because they're phasing out this program.
Right.
So,
That's
it's this
the
program here.
Autism Day, no,
No, it's the
Client and Family Services.
Client and Family Services. Vicki, you want to jump in? No. Okay, so this program has dropped from 20 down to 4. So they intentionally, not intentionally, they are phasing out this program. So at this point in time, they're only treating 4 clients. So that is why we were recommending
25,000.
25,000 versus a full position.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Vicki, no. Okay, Rock and the Spectrum, that's new funding. They didn't have funding last year. The first program, we're not recommending this program. We're not really clear what these funds would be used for in this program, according to the application. And then in the second application, they are requesting $177,680 for purchase of position, and we are recommending that a $50,000 fee for service with special conditions, just to get them up and running.
I'm asking that they come in and give a presentation because we don't know anything about, I don't know anything about them.
Okay, so that's our first
So-
presentation. Yeah, and if there's any other presentations going along the way, just let us know. Okay. Rosecrans. As a whole, FY '25, 713,396. They requested 1,063,100. We are recommending 728,000. Are there any that you want us to go through? Okay. Teach Different, this is a new funding program. Again, this funding is not recommended. It doesn't align with the MHB mission and priorities. And you can review the application if you choose to. Okay, thresholds. FY '25 was 576, now you can see what you can see, 576,100. They requested 690. We are recommending 600,000. Transitional Living Services, TLS, as a whole, they, in FY '25, 215,000. They requested 215. We are recommending 215,000. Turning Point, as a whole, as an agency, FY '25 was 687,855. They requested 1,090,000. We are recommending 739,800.
One of the programs was due to utilization. I'm just throwing that in there.
Yeah, and one of the programs was reported together last year, and they were split. And so that 10,000 is actually, I would say, flat funded from last year, and the other one's flat funded for its original program. So it's almost as if they're getting a little extra there, so. Any questions on Turning Point? Warp Core. So there's a new funding request for a grant. We're not recommending any funding consideration for this proposal since it's outside of the MHB's scope of funding. The street outreach program, recommended flat funding is purchase a position of $205,000. And then the youth prevention, we are recommending 188. So the total as a whole, they are, in FY '25, they get 448,852. They are requesting 1,219,570, and we are recommending 393,000. Youth and Family Services, the FY '25 was 285,000. FY '26 request was 300,000. We are recommending 294,600. Oh, that leaves us with a balance of 310,991.
And that's what we recommend that we keep in case there's an emergency that an agency would come back to us in need, to keep that extra 310,000.
That's annual. Anybody have any other presentations from the annual funding? And then we'll go on to OSF. So just rocking the spectrum so far. You want to do OSF? Okay.
Okay. I think you did a great job, you panel here, the four of you. You did a really good job, and they spent months over on this report to you, board members, so.
All right, so OSF funding. This is a much shorter one, so. First one is Best Communities. Similar to the annual funding, we did not recommend funding this program based on the duplicative services and, the issues we're having with ICA requirements not being met. Crystal Lake Teen Center, they were funded in the annual funding, so we are not recommending funding there. That brings us to Live for Lolly. So this year, they are funded at $498,900. They requested $500,000, and we are recommending $498,900. So flat funding for them. The next one is Mathers Recovery. They were funded $50,000 this year through a grant. They requested $200,000, and we are not recommending funding at this time. Due to program services being billable, that they have not submitted financial statements for fiscal '25 agreement requirements, and the overall budget shows a program profit of over $1 million if they are funded by us. New Directions, we are basically going to fund they asked for all three programs on their application to be funded through this, but we did fund the Way Out and the Sober Living program through the annual funding. So we are going to fund the social isolation for SUD recovery through here. And they requested $62,150 for that program, and we are funding it at $44,100. And then the next one is Northern Illinois Recovery, the SUD Student Assistant Program. They were funded $140,000 through regular funding. Last year, they requested $160,000, and we are recommending $140,000 in funding through the opioid settlement funds. Then their other program, the detox treatment, is being funded through the annual funding. Rosecrans requested their MAT program be funded here, but we funded it through the annual funding. And Warp Corps, their Phase 2 Community Center, we're not recommending funding of that program. So those 3 programs we did fund used the full amount of opioid funds that we had allocated. So any questions on that? Wow, that's a record.
Okay, does anybody have any comments on this or want to have anybody come in and present? I mean, I said rocking the spectrum. I don't know anything about them, so I'd like them to come in.
You have some members in the queue.
Pardon me?
You have some members in the queue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carol, I'm sorry.
Thanks. No,
You should-
and I don't have anything specific. I just want to thank you for the time and the process used. It's nice to actually have like a defined kind of methodology that's utilized. So I appreciate that. And then I'm just curious, like, then, and you can answer it when, as discussion ensues, but kind of where we go from here, because it seems like there's a kind of a solid process. There's maybe a couple that we could have discussion on at a later time, but I just want to thank you for that. All your hard work, everybody.
Thank you.
They've done a lot. Okay, just a second. Chris?
Hey, so also thank you. I want to kind of bring the Easter seals question back into play, because when we had our town hall, the service that they're providing here was specifically called out as something that's not systematically available in our community. So even if we're a small part of their census and it's a, there's some, administrative effort associated with the grants management and billing, I think being able to make that service available to our community would be of value.
Do you want them to come in and give a presentation?
I don't think that we need a presentation. It's not a large amount of funding, so.
Okay, I don't remember, how much was it? Oh, okay.
So basically, that's something we could explore doing an ICA with. For $9,000, I would not do normal funding with them. The hard part with them is that, it's such a small percentage. It was like 1% of like 10 different positions. And it's just kind of like thinking of the mechanism on how we would fund them. And also along the lines of, they have charity care for people without funding, but are these McHenry County residents that they're going to, do they have insurance? Are they in a position where they need that? So to just pick up, 1% of their cost because they have current clients that are McHenry County residents, because it didn't sound like they're trying to expand the coverage of McHenry County residents. They just want a little extra money for the residents they currently do treat. So I'm not sure that it would really change or increase the available services, but I mean, that's definitely a discussion we could have with them, or, invite them for future funding with a better plan maybe to treat more McHenry County residents. So I mean, we can have discussions with them and talks, but just the way the request is, it's really hard to fund it as a normal funding agreement. So,
Yeah, along with the concern of the reporting requirements that they would have. And we were concerned that we're not sure if they would, that would have to be a conversation, if they would be willing to the reporting requirements for that type of
right.
grant.
And we could look into an ICA for that smaller
Yeah.
amount, but again, how would that work? I mean,
Yeah.
would it be warrant of need? Would it be, there are ways we can consider funding them, just the application that was submitted just really didn't, it was hard to, yeah.
Also, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was fantastic. The return of funds based on the administrative shuffle, those aren't in here,
No,
right?
those are not in there.
What is happening? Like, I know they're going to come back, and that's wonderful, and I know that you absolutely would not have had time to work them in here.
So basically, that 311 or whatever would be 350
Plus that,
plus.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just going to go into that unallocated pool. And if you guys choose, as you're looking through this, if you feel, one program,
We could potentially draw
you could
from
potentially,
those.
yes.
Okay,
Our recommendation would to be,
maybe
You know,
save them for
maybe
next
save
year.
'em, but-
Yep, okay.
but if feels, there's strong feelings about something, that could be something that could be done.
Okay, thank you.
got you, Carolyn.
Yeah, and I don't know, can I ask for a clarification on one of them? So when you said on the Crystal Lake Teen Center, did you say that they took two and put them into one?
Yes, so they have an education program and then like a prevention program, and they're basically reporting out the same staff, and Vicki can kind of
They're
clarify
doing the
this.
same, yeah, same outcomes
You know,
reporting.
they're doing the same outcome reporting for the two programs. There's a lot of overlap. So they asked us if they could just submit one program rather than have them broken out into two. So it's just one overall prevention education program versus the prevention and the education being split out.
And if I remember correctly, and I don't want to get into the weeds on this right now, but I do from the standpoint if I want them to come in or not, is why I'm asking these questions.
Okay.
Because as I recall last year, there was is it one of the programs that I'm recalling, that it was kind of a new program that they were just starting up and we were seeing where it could go, and then I thought, if I remember correctly, that it was something we were going to look to have like the school districts kind of help invest in a little bit more or get some more support from the school districts. Am I recalling that correctly?
Is it the break or is it the Clinical Navigator?
Yeah, I'm not,
No, I think it was the Crystal Lake Teen Center. Was it perhaps the school suspension?
Yeah, is that
School
one of the
suspension
programs that got rolled into this?
I would have to review that again to verify.
Because if it is, and the reason I ask, and I don't need to get into the weeds, but I would like to maybe hear from them on that, just because I remember leaving that as kind of like a one-year deal. And, you know, we'll invest in it this year, we'll let them start it up, and then kind of hoping other people would step up and support that program. So now rolling it in, it kind of takes something that was broken out and made it really easy to see how it was broken out, and putting it together. Now, I don't know that that same condition is being met, that, you know, how I'm recalling. So
yeah, we can look into those.
Yeah, we can get you an answer.
if that's the case, I mean, if it's not, and these are different programs, but if that's the one, and I'm kind of recalling that I thought that one was going to be a one-time deal, but now we're rolling in supporting it, I would like that clarification. And I think, and the reason I ask right now, instead of just asking on the side, is because if they need to come in, I will leave that stipulation. If it is, I would like them to come in and kind of
Okay.
explain it better.
Yeah, true. We did say that the school should pick up some of the suspension program, the kids that were suspended from school. So maybe have them come in and explain that, what they're doing with the school.
We'll get you an answer on that. And then I guess going forward, my suggestion would be that we have presentations on the 8th. We're going to need to put our funding plan on that same agenda for everyone to approve. And then maybe we have a discussion item on that agenda as well. So you can have more discussion at that point in time as well, before waiting all the way until the October meeting. At this point in time, if you don't have any other presentations, I don't necessarily think we need to have the 15th unless you want to wait and see. Unless you think that we need to have more conversations on the 15th before we do our regular board meeting on,
I think
The
we should
28th.
just leave it on the books
Yeah.
and let's see, but I don't believe, sitting here, that we'll need the 15th.
right? And I guess as you really dig into the information, if you start having more questions and we need to have another meeting, it's already on the books. So
Right.
we can cancel it if need be.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. You have another question? Okay. Just a minute, let me find you here. Okay.
And as you were going through these, when you say, can you clarify again about that 6%? Was it 6%? And what you put that on? Did you put it on just like paid for positions, or what did you put that on?
Did it on the grants and the POPs. Yeah, purchase a position and the grants. The fee for service, we use utilization and projected utilization.
And then, and I can ask you this, kind of, I guess, but that you used the utilization rate first
Correct.
and then added 6%
Correct.
on those two. Okay. Shoot, I had one more question.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
I know, Carolyn. We all forget.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah. Okay. I just, because there were a couple maybe that, maybe we can, I'll follow up with you on that. 'cause there are a
Vicki
couple-
just confirmed that the school suspension is included on that, so we will have them come in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions that you can think of later, call them, ask them. And if we want to add somebody else to the 8th to present, we can always do that. Oh, Carolyn just remembered. Okay, just a second here. All right.
I just wanted to follow up. I really appreciate the numbers and all balances and everything. And I know we've said it in years past, and we've also ignored it in years past. But I'm really hoping this year, because we have a very strict budget moving forward and how we're doing the allocations, there's a little bit of wiggle room in here, but not a whole lot. So again, like when we go through the discussions, if, like I could see some that, I could go one way or another on. But if you're gonna propose an increase, I would propose where you're gonna take it from, so that we balance in the end. And I do see going both ways on some of these. So I think it's there to have that, and I think the $46,000 is in play in that too, I will say that. I mean, personally, I
Yes.
think that's something you could, that's going to be a
Easily.
consistent number that, at least for this next year, that we could put them into play in that changing in the programs. But I do not want to, I do not want, we don't have the room to go into reserves like we've had, in some years past. So as you're thinking, just want to encourage everyone to find that balance and propose them both.
And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to add on Carolyn's comment, when you're looking at OSF funds and you think you're going to be moving those funds around, remember, not everybody has applied in both funding pools. So if you're thinking of pulling about somebody out of that, that doesn't necessarily mean we can fund them over there. I mean, we played with those numbers to get that to balance really well, and we don't want to split a program between both funding sources. We want to keep a program within OSF or within, an agency is fine, but not the program. So that is a whole different consideration. And then, if you have questions, we did put that virtual question sheet together. I shouldn't say we, I should say Vicki did, so that we can get those all in one section so that everybody can see those questions. We can still share them at a board meeting so that everybody has that information. And if anybody has any problems accessing the virtual board manual or any of that information, just let us know. So.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, right here, we have member comments. Does any members here have any comments? If not, we don't have an executive session. Our next meeting is October 8th at 5 o'clock. And if you have any questions after taking this home and digesting it, please get back to our panel, anybody on the panel. Anything else? Well, then I ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, John. Second? All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned till October.